Welcome back to Mighty Habits, everybody. I'm Stephen Tump, and I am pumped to be back with you for another deep dive into a fascinating topic.
And I'm Mary, always thrilled to be here, Stephen, especially when we're tackling something as universally intriguing as this.
You got it today. We're going deep on wealth, but not just the, oh, you know how to make a ton of money kind of wealth.
Yeah,
We're talking about the folks who built fortunes quietly, the ones you might not even realize are millionaires.
exactly. We're diving into The Millionaire Next Door, that classic study by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko.
A book that I think really flips the script on how most of us think about wealth.
It definitely challenges those flashy stereotypes we see all the time.
You picture a millionaire, you think mansions, sports cars, designer, everything.
But The Millionaire Next Door paints a totally different picture.
Oh, yeah. It's like you're at a backyard barbecue, hanging out, the guy in the worn-out jeans sipping his iced tea. Could be the millionaire next door, not the one bragging about their latest stock option win.
It's fascinating how much wealth flies under the radar.
Right. And the book argues that it's not just by chance. These millionaires aren't just lucky. They've made choices, built habits, and cultivated mindsets that are often counter to what we're told about success.
Absolutely. It's a combination of factors that lead to that kind of quiet wealth.
Okay, so let's break that down. One of the big things the book emphasizes is frugality.
Frugality, but not in the way you might think.
It's not about clipping coupons and never enjoying yourself, right?
It's deeper than that. It's about being intentional with your spending, understanding value, and resisting the pull to keep up with the Joneses.
So it's less about deprivation, more about playing a different game entirely.
Yeah, they're not saying deprive yourself of everything, but be mindful of where your money's going. Make it work for you.
I like that, make it work for you. And the book gives some great examples of how millionaires are actually super savvy shoppers.
Oh, absolutely. They do their research, they negotiate, they don't fall for the marketing traps that catch so many people.
So it's not about being cheap, it's about being smart with your money.
Exactly, and this mindset goes way beyond just shopping. It influences their careers. A lot of them are entrepreneurs and business owners.
Right, so no trust fund babies or lottery winners here.
These are folks who put in the work, they built something from the ground up.
They're driven and disciplined, and it's not just about hard work, it's about being smart with their finances too.
Oh, for sure. They're the kings and queens of long-term thinking. They understand things like compound interest and the power of consistent investing.
So patience is a big part of the equation.
Huge. They're not looking for get-rich-quick schemes. It's all about playing the long game, making informed decisions, and putting in the effort consistently.
We've talked a lot about individual traits, but the book also gets into family dynamics, right? Like, how does being married to someone with a similar mindset play into all of this?
Oh, that's crucial. The book found that the spouses of these millionaires often share those same values about money and that frugal mindset.
So like a team effort, a shared vision for their financial future.
It's a partnership where they support each other's goals and reinforce those positive habits.
And what about their kids? Do they raise little mini millionaires in training?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. They're actually very conscious about not creating a sense of entitlement in their children.
So even millionaire kids have to do chores.
It's about more than chores. They want their kids to learn the value of hard work and financial responsibility.
It's like teaching them to fish instead of just handing them a plate of filet mignon.
Exactly. The book talks about this thing called economic outpatient care, which is basically wealthy parents constantly bailing out their adult children.
And that can actually backfire, right?
The authors argued that it can prevent those kids from developing their own financial independence.
Makes sense. If you always have a safety net, you might not be as motivated to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet financially.
Right, and these millionaires get that. True wealth isn't just about money. It's about building character resilience, a sense of purpose.
Wow. This is eye-opening.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why this book has become such a classic.
It's a powerful reminder that wealth is about how you manage what you have and the values you instill in the next generation, not just how much you earn.
I think our listeners are getting a glimpse of why this book is so compelling. But we've only scratched the surface.
There's so much more to uncover. Stay tuned for part 2, where we dive even deeper into the world of The Millionaire Next Door.
Welcome back to Mighty Habits. It's really fascinating to kind of peel back the layers of this book and challenge those assumptions we have about wealth.
Yeah, it's funny. We often think of success as, being able to spend a lot of money. But this book seems to suggest that real financial smarts is knowing where not to spend.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah,
But one of the things that the Millionaire Next Door talks about is this idea of lifestyle creep is one of the biggest traps for people.
lifestyle creep.
Yeah, so you get a raise or you get a promotion and suddenly you're upgrading your car, you're getting a bigger house, you're going on fancier vacations, and your expenses just kind of rise right along with your income.
Mm.
So you're on that treadmill running faster,
Yeah.
but not really getting anywhere.
Exactly. And the millionaires next door, they are so intentional about their spending. They don't let their lifestyle inflate with every raise they make.
So they're not denying themselves pleasure or enjoyment, but it's more about aligning their spending with their long-term vision.
Absolutely. And they're not afraid to spend money on things that matter to them.
Right.
But they're also not swayed by, those status symbols or the need to keep up with what everyone else is doing.
That takes a lot of discipline, though.
It does.
But what about, like, unexpected expenses?
Yeah.
Things happen. Life throws you a curveball. Do they have, like, a secret stash of cash for emergencies or something?
Well, one of the things that surprised me was their approach to risk.
Okay.
They're not gamblers. They plan meticulously for setbacks. They have emergency funds. They make sure they have proper insurance. They diversify their investments to withstand any kind of economic downturn.
So it's not just luck, they're prepared.
Preparedness is huge in this book. And that applies to their careers, too. A lot of them are entrepreneurs. They own businesses, but they're not drawn to those super flashy, high-risk ventures.
Right.
They tend to choose businesses that will provide them with stable income and long-term growth potential.
So instead of chasing the next big thing, they're, like, building a solid foundation.
Exactly. They focus on industries they understand, they play to their strengths, and they build businesses that are sustainable over time.
So we've talked about their habits, their financial habits, but I'm curious about their mindset. What makes these folks tick? Are they all workaholics with no time for fun, or is there more to it?
That's a great question. The book paints a picture of people who are definitely driven,
Yeah.
but they're also really focused on balance.
Okay.
They value their families, they prioritize their health, and they're often very involved in their communities.
It's not all about money for them.
Yeah.
Have like a wider perspective on a successful life.
Yeah, they're not just accumulating wealth for the sake of it, They see money as a tool to achieve their goals, which often involve, spending time with loved ones, pursuing their passions, giving back to the community.
That's refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
It's a nice reminder that financial success doesn't have to come at the expense of, everything else that's important.
Right.
We've talked about how they build their wealth. What about protecting it? The book also talks about their relationship with financial advisors, which I found pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that. Because I always pictured millionaires as, having like a whole team of advisors on call 24/7.
Right. But they're actually much more discerning than that.
Really?
They do seek out expert advice, but they're very selective about who they trust and how they use that advice.
So they're not just handing over control to anyone with a fancy title.
No way. They choose advisors who share their values, who understand their long-term goals, and who can explain things clearly.
They don't just blindly follow recommendations, They ask questions, they challenge assumptions, and they ultimately make their own decisions.
Like they're taking ownership of their financial well-being.
Exactly. They see advisors as valuable resources, but they understand that at the end of the day, they're responsible for their own finances, and they don't give that responsibility away.
That makes a lot of sense. The Millionaire Next Door really seems to advocate for a balanced, thoughtful approach to building wealth. But are there any critics of the book? Are there any downsides to this way of thinking? All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into The Millionaire Next Door, and I'm really curious to get into the specifics of how these folks actually manage their money, the nuts and bolts of it all.
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was that they don't rely on those flashy investment strategies or, risky ventures.
So no Bitcoin billionaires in this crowd?
Probably not. They tend to be very conservative investors.
Okay.
They're all about that slow, steady growth, often through things like real estate or those low-risk mutual funds.
So playing the long game, letting those investments compound over time?
Exactly. They're not interested in getting rich quick. They're building that solid foundation for the long haul. But here's the thing. Even though they're cautious, they're not afraid to make bold moves when the opportunity is right.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, many of them started their own businesses. That's a pretty bold move in itself, right?
Yeah.
They saw a gap in the market, they took a calculated risk, and they built something amazing.
But they're not just like reckless gamblers, are they?
No, not at all. They're very careful. They consider the potential downsides. They plan for unexpected things, and they're not afraid to walk away if it doesn't make sense.
So it's that balance of calculated risk and careful planning that really sets them apart.
Exactly.
It's like they're playing chess, always thinking a few moves ahead.
I like that analogy. They're strategic thinkers, not impulsive.
Right.
But even with all this focus on financial strategies, you know, the Millionaire Next Door really drives home this point that wealth, it's about more than just money.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
It's about living a life of purpose, pursuing your passions, giving back to your community. And these millionaires, they often put their families, their health, their personal growth right up there with their financial goals.
So they're not just chasing dollars, they're building a life they truly love.
Exactly. They understand that true wealth, it encompasses financial security, of course, but it also includes happiness, fulfillment, and that sense of contributing to something bigger than themselves.
I think that's such a powerful message for everyone listening.
Mhm.
It's not just about hitting a certain net worth. It's about creating a life that is rich in every sense of the word.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, Mary, I think we've done a fantastic job unpacking the wisdom of the Millionaire Next Door, and I have a feeling our listeners are going to be rushing out to get their hands on a copy.
If you're interested in building true wealth, not just in your bank account, but in your life, this book is a must-read.
Absolutely. It's full of practical advice, inspiring stories, and a really refreshing perspective on what it means to be successful.
And remember, you don't have to be a millionaire to benefit from these principles.
Exactly. The habits and mindsets we've talked about today, they can apply to anyone, no matter what your income level or your financial goals are.
It's all about making smart choices, having a healthy relationship with money, and building a life that truly aligns with your values.
Well said, Mary. And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Millionaire Next Door. We hope you found it as insightful as we have.
And don't forget to subscribe to Mighty Habits for more deep dives into topics that can help you live a richer, more fulfilling life. Until next time, keep those mighty habits rolling.